Yeah.
I had to go to physio when I felt shaggy. So
And we're live.
Awesome.
Hello, YouTube land. We are about to record an episode of Intro to Ghibli. And if you are viewing this, which nobody is,
hi, Shane.
you can comment in the chat and I will respond as I can. All right, I'm going to hit record. Hello, Mixed Nutcases. This is Nuke and I've got an episode of Intro to Ghibli for you today. And today we're doing things a little out of order. We have a list and we're doing it first, all the Ghibli movies, and then we go on to the other things. But our local theater was showing Naussica, Valley of the Wind, and this is a pre-Ghibli movie, so we ended up jumping the gun and just taking the opportunity to see it on the big screen, and we're glad that we did. So we're going to be covering Naussica, Valley of the Wind today, and with me, as always, I have...
Hi, I'm Tech.
And...
Jason, minus a Jennifer, but it's okay.
Minus Jan, yes, but she gave you her rating.
She did.
So our scores will not be incomplete. So before we get into this, seriously, I did want to cover one thing about our shows and how we do the rating system.
We got to clarify this.
We have to clarify. If you listen to the last Ghibli cast episode where we covered Princess Mononoke, people were not so pleased with that.
We had a girl run out of the room in anger.
Yeah.
When we gave our scores.
You're an evil brown man, Tech.
Yeah.
True.
She left during my scoring, so
Frenchman.
So anyway, so when you hear us rate, it's an out of 10 scale. 0 would be horrifying. 1, dreadful. 2, tedious. 3, boring. 4, mediocre. 5, average. 6, solid. 7, exceptional. 8, dazzling. 9, penultimate. And 10 is sublime.
So if we do our jobs right and we watch all of these movies, we should have an average score of 5, is what I'm thinking about. That there are going to be some very good ones. There's going to be some not so good ones. There's going to be some of the best cinema I've ever seen in my life, some things that gave me cancer, and a whole bunch of things in between. And I think as reviewers as a whole, we've gotten into this thing where review scales are from 7 to 9. Nothing will ever get 10, and anything under 7 is horrible. Look at like star reviews.
Yeah.
On websites, like everything gets a 4 except if it sucked, it gets a 1, and never a 2 or 3.
Have we given a 10?
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have.
Was it Kiki?
It was My Neighbor Totoro.
We all gave it 10.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Kiki got 9s and 8s.
Yeah,
I gave my Princess Mononoke a 3. Now, and I explained it then, but I angered a lot of people because there's a lot of people that Princess Mononoke is their favorite Miyazaki film, and I can see the reasons why. You know, the credits included a page of hundreds of names of the dead animators that fell making probably some of the most beautiful animation I've ever seen. But that's where the good stuff ended for me. I hated the plot. I hated the music. It didn't have an ending. It just kind of stopped. And even then, there was no resolution of anything. I did not enjoy the movie other than, you know, the artistic stuff. So yeah, to me, that's really boring. I thought it was a boring film. So that's why I got that score.
And I love my sexy brown man. So I have to support his decision. And I will openly admit, Mononoke is one of my favorite Ghibli movies, but it's not, or Miyazaki movies, I should say. And it's not one that I go back to and watch too often. Like, I've definitely seen it a lot, but I've definitely seen probably Spirited Away more, by far. I've seen Totoro more by far. And one of your complaints was that it was long, and it is. It's really long, and it's made to feel longer because it has a lot of stretches of nothing happening or people just kind of talking. Where Mononoke excels the best is not only with its animation but with its combat sequences. The 2 fight sequences in that thing, where the elk guy, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, is fighting the samurai are superb, and I would kill to get Miyazaki to do something with a combat orientation, because it was wonderful, it was superb. But again, that's where a lot of things stop. I gave it a higher rating than you because one, it was one of my first Ghibli movies. I think it was the second thing I saw after Kiki. So it's got nostalgia working for it with me.
So fans, don't kill me when I give these review scores. I am being fair. I'm not flaming anything, and I try to explain my logic. And if I don't like something that you absolutely love, please let me know the reasons why. But don't run out of the room crying. Okay, I'm not doing this to be mean, and I'm certainly not doing this to offend anyone. It's just some things I like and other things I won't. There are movies that I'm going to enjoy that I'm sure you hate too.
Yeah. And I've noticed already as we go through the scoring, we're moving more towards comparing the movies with other Ghibli movies instead of with other movies as a whole.
Yeah, and that's and I'll tell you right now, by the end of it, you'll have to. Because Miyazaki does things on such a high level. Even his worst film, which I still feel is Whispers of the Heart.
Speaking of that, I have a question for you. Do you think Whisper of the Heart is tedious?
Yeah, it is. For
so
me.
You will defend that score of it being tedious.
Absolutely. It is I'll put it to you this way. I've only seen Whispers of the Heart a handful of times. I'm pretty sure I've seen it only maybe 5 or 6 times compared to literally, I've probably seen Spirited Away in the 20s, or if not 30s. I saw Spirited Away in the theaters 3 times. And you sent me the schedule for them showing it again. I may try to go see it again.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and it's before the October 27th, I think, or 29th, whatever it is, because between the end of October and the 1st of November, there will be 3 screenings of Spirited Away in the US and Canada. If it's in the US,
Cineplex theaters.
Yeah. Well, in Canada, it's in Cineplex theaters. In the US, it's other brands because they don't have Cineplex. And you can go to, let's see if I can remember it. Just look for G Kids Presents and go to their events. And you put in your zip code, it'll tell you where it is. But yeah, check it out. And you can watch Spirited Away on the big screen before our next recording.
And I will tell you guys from firsthand experience that I've seen, I've seen Whispers of the Heart. I'm not Whispers of the Heart. I've seen Spirited Away. I've seen The Wind Rises. I've seen Secret World of Our Yeti, and I've seen From Up on High. Yeah, I've seen 4 of his films on the screen, and it is wonderful. It is a wonderful experience.
So let's talk about Naussica.
Yes, let's talk about Naussica. So before we get into Naussica, Tech, can you give us your patented 30-second synopsis?
Well, I actually found a synopsis to read here that's probably going to be a little bit more concise than what I could do because it's going to. Well, I'll give my version after.
Okay.
Far in the future, after an apocalyptic conflict has devastated much of the world's ecosystem, the few surviving humans live in scattered, semi-hospitable environments within what has become a quote toxic jungle. Young Nassica lives in the arid Valley of the Wind and can communicate with massive insects that populate the dangerous jungle. Under the guidance of the pensive veteran warrior Lord Yupa, Naussica works to bring peace back to the ravaged planet. It's Dances with Bugs, is what it is. This is Dances with Bugs. 14-year-old girl with a hang glider can talk to giant beetle bugs.
Is it really talking though? Like I feel it's more communing than actual. No words are actually exchanged from the bug side of things.
No. It doesn't say. I didn't say she listens to bugs. I said she talks to bugs. She talks to them all the time. Hi, little baby bug. Hi, giant bug. Turn around and go back to the jungle, please. She's obviously talking to it. Who knows if it listens or if it says anything back?
True. And there is one moment where it kind of does talk back because it lets her know that the pilot is alive.
Yeah, and they do things that show that they are like super sentient, like they're actually high levels,
Mhm.
like where they recognize her pain and stuff like that. Um,
So,
Yeah.
high points.
Oh, first impressions.
Oh, yeah, sorry. First impressions. Thank you. See, I'm glad I wrote it out.
My very first impression of this movie, as the first couple of sweeping vistas went across the screen and the music picked up, is that, wow, this is nowhere near as nice as Spirited Away. Am I going to hate, or not Spirited Away, as nice as Princess Mononoke? Am I going to hate this one too? Am I going to get shot for my review? Because, like, Princess Mononoke killed animators. This one, not as much.
I don't even think there was a hand spraying.
No, it was pretty, but I remember watching a scene of running water and seeing like grass blow across the field, and it didn't look anywhere near as detailed as the other ones.
well,
And I have a point to make here. There is a really sort of a decided visual look to the world, with those the big airships and the glider and the bugs. And I noticed that this movie, being a pre-Studio Ghibli, so it was directed by Miyazaki, but it was produced by Isao Takahata. Is this, Jason, is this a visual style that we're going to see in more of Takahata's films?
well, yeah.
Or the lack of production value compared to the other Miyazaki ones? Are like the Takahata ones done on a lower level? Or
Here's the thing: Isao Takahata and Miyazaki are like Walt Disney compared to Hanna-Barbera, because yes, Hanna-Barbera had some super cheap animation at some things, but then there's other things where he superbly was excelled at.
So I'd say it's actually probably more Don Bluth.
Yes, thank you. That's a far better comparison. Yes, Disney compared to Don Bluth. And I would also like to say that in Isao Takahata's own work, you're going to get what appears to be cheaper animation, but it is on par, if not exceeds, some of Miyazaki's stuff. One of the things I'll point out to you is, I'm pretty sure you've seen the trailers for it, but you haven't watched it yet for the show, is My Neighbors the Yamadas. My Neighbors the Yamadas is done in an animation style that looks like crayon drawings.
Oh, that's awesome.
But here's the deal. It looks super cheap, but it cost more than Spirited Away.
Oh, I bet.
oh wow,
Yeah,
And
it's harder to animate that.
Absolutely. And if you watch that movie and the way it works, it is beautiful. And then the movie I feel got robbed on, because I'm pretty sure he went up against, if I'm not mistaken, he went up against Frozen.
Oh,
Or
wow.
no. He went up against Song of the Sea or something like that. Some animated film, and he didn't get the Oscar. He got nominated, but he didn't get the Oscar for Tale of Princess Kaguya. Tale of Princess Kaguya is also in that kind of watercolor painted animation style, and it is one of the most beautiful things I've ever witnessed put to film. It is by far my favorite animated film, like just from the way it looks, period.
so the answer is no. To my question, the answer is no.
So
Tech, are you done with your initial reaction?
My reaction throughout the entire movie as I'm watching this, and this is something else that I need to research, is there seemed to be two types of music. There was like the slow dramatic music, and then when it got into the action scenes, especially when there were like airplanes and stuff, like this like rock with like a thumping bass line starts. And it's like, I've heard music like this before, and I've seen these bugs before. This is Chrono Trigger. This entire game, this entire movie is Chrono Trigger. And what this movie felt like as I'm watching it, it feels like the really high dollar cutscenes of a huge sweeping JRPG. Like I got about a 2.5 hour movie out of a 40 to 50 hour game that I was playing. And this is all the cutscenes spliced together. So my reaction to this movie is, my God, do I want to play this game now?
Here's the deal. You're having that feeling, but it's not for a game. You're having that feeling for the manga. I'm gonna just put it to you there. Nausicaa is good by film standards, by comparing it to other stuff outside of Ghibli and Miyazaki. it's comparatively it's superb and it looks great and it's a good thing, good story, good characters. But if you look at the original work, the manga that Miyazaki did for this thing, that manga blows this out of the water. And I'm talking about like sinking it to the bottom of the ocean quick, fast, and in a hurry, like the Titanic.
Yeah, mentioned in the credits that this is based on a series. So this is quite a long book or series of books.
Yeah.
Yes. It's one of Miyazaki's few manga, and it was a long one. Like, it was a really long one.
You can tell that because there's so much that happens in the story.
Yeah, very quickly as well. Like, and we don't get a lot of backstory for the competing nations, and we also don't get a very good underlining base for why Uma Thurman's character is doing this. Like, we understand she wants to win a war, but why is she so desperate? What, how far, where's her country located? Because we do visit one of the other countries in this, but we don't visit hers.
Yeah.
So there's a lot missing, and I think personally, it just had to be cut out, because you would have had a 6-hour movie. This would have been Peter Jackson time. Like,
yeah.
So, first impressions.
So my first impressions were, and I went in knowing nothing. I hadn't seen the poster. I hadn't heard a thing. I really have been trying to keep myself purely unspoiled. And when I saw the runtime, I was like, oh shoot, this is 2 hours and 20 minutes. I gotta be somewhere. But it actually ended up being all right. There were, there's times they probably could have cut a half hour out of it to clean it up a bit, but
well, we'll get to that.
I didn't think that, even though you could tell that there was more story, I didn't feel like, all right, but I'm stupid because where's the rest of this? Why is this happening here? I didn't feel like they under-explained anything. And I also didn't feel like they over-explained anything. So that was really good. They didn't talk down to the audience. They didn't underestimate or overestimate their audience, which was good. It was a nice story. I was happy that there was no romance, thank goodness, because that could have, Hollywood would have definitely put one in there. And the art was pretty, but it wasn't overly complicated. And, the music was uneven. But my initial reaction is didn't feel like a 2.5 hour movie. So that's good.
When I first saw this, it was actually during my my first deployment when I was in Iraq, because I went like all good soldiers, when you get paid crap tons of money and you have nothing to do but Amazon delivers anywhere in the world, you buy things. And I went on a Ghibli collection spree. I have
anime delivered by Amazon while you were on tour. That's awesome.
Absolutely. I got specifically my first to Iraq. I spent in Iraq. I spent $1,200 in anime period. I collected all the Ghiblis, and these are all the original DVD dual sets that have the special editions on the special commentaries and stuff on the second disc, which are actually some of the ones I gave you guys when I upgraded to Blu-ray, because the Blu-rays are just upscaled, better versions of those with all the content on one disc. So I gave you guys those discs. I think it was at Balticon.
Yeah, 2 Balticons ago.
Yeah, and then in Afghanistan, I spent $1,500. I actually own all the Tenchi Muyo series that matter as well. I also own Serial Experiments Lane. Woof. So yeah, I'm a terrible otaku. But when I first saw this, the first thing out of my mouth was when I saw it and I saw the animation and the music was, holy crap, this is 80s. This is 80s. Like, my goodness. And then I started comparing it to things I had seen previously, such as Akira, such as Cyber City Oedo. And it has that type of animation. Specifically, also, if you look at this animation style, it looks like the music video that Miyazaki did. I don't think it has as much detail as that one, because that thing that music video that you guys saw, I think we talked about it before we decided to do the intro cast. that murdered every animator on it. They're dead. You can't resurrect them with the Dragon Balls. And that was my first impression. I was like, my God, is this thing's 80s? But once I got into it, I was like, holy crap, Miyazaki, you do like your strong ladies, because this thing is driven by strong females across the board. And I love it.
Yeah. So, high points?
Wow, high points. The whole thing is good. It has a good story with good voice acting. And let's talk about that. So in 2005, Disney re-released it with a new voice cast, starring Alison Lohman and Patrick Stewart and Uma Thurman, and did the same as all of the, the same quality that we've come to expect from these Disney re-releases, that they do them really, really well. And I thought the voice acting was incredible. The animation was pretty, but nowhere near as good as the stuff we've seen in the other movies. The music was kind of, the high point for me though was the mechanical designs. So all of those airplanes, they're based on real airplanes, kind of. They don't have four wings, but a lot of them are based on this thing called the Gigant, which was a huge German cargo airplane and glider from World War II, and the way the hatches open and close, the way the controls move, the way the cannon turrets all sort of hover and pivot. I mean, they are impossible to, be made of like that big clunky steel and actually still float. But, the visual design that they were going for to make these things look old. Another thing that I noticed, the tanks on the ground, those are called Brumbars. Those are German tanks from World War II, but they changed the tracks to give them more of like a claw-like feel. And there's a scene where the bridge collapses and you see the tank sort of scamper and scurry up the other side of the bridge and disappear away. And the whole tank seems to like articulate as it moves along. I've seen that before. That was a game called Metal Slug.
Have you ever seen a thing called Dominion Tank Police?
Yeah, that was they've got a little Renault tank in Tokyo, painted up as a cop car.
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah, that was one of the first manga releases in North America. That came out at the same time as like Ninja Scroll and the original Street Fighter movie and all that stuff that I was watching back in the day.
One of the first anime I ever saw on Saturday Anime on Sci-Fi Channel. And you're right. You're absolutely right. You can see the influence of German technology as well as historical bits of technology in this. What was your thoughts on the gunplane that basically really was kind of a revolver with wings?
Oh, no, it was a Derringer. It was a two-shot Derringer with wings. I don't understand what the purpose of the little canopy at the back is if he's facing forward, because he can't see anything because of the curve of the hull. It was fantastic, but it was a fantasy movie with giant bugs. At this point, I'm willing to let my I'm willing to suspend some of my disbelief. Even her little hang glider, which I forget the name, but it's the German word for seagull. Is
the Meve? Meve? M-E-H-V-E?
Yeah, Meve. Anyway, totally pretty and really well done. And but the one thing I did notice when she's flying on the glider, so instead of like a normal hang glider where you hang underneath, she flies this one from the top, and she's got like a simple strap harness and these two controls for her hands. So she puts her hands on these bars, the strap goes across her middle, and she just sort of hangs in a hang glider position, but she's on top, which means she's not being hung. There's nothing holding up her legs. She's just a strap across her belly, which means flying for hours across the desert in these acrobatic maneuvers. The only thing keeping her legs up is her core. She must have like abs of granite to hold that position. She's fit.
Dude, if the glider in this is actually responsible for some of the best animation in the film. Like when she takes off and she actually has it actually has jets of air or some sort of propulsion from the bottom, which launches it up in the air, and then it has an actual little jet booster to get it going. And those end of sequences when she uses that is great. Also, she actually hangs from the bottom at one point and kind of flips over on it, so to speak.
Yeah, she'll launch it like you were launching a kite or a paper airplane and just run the thing off a cliff and then flip up onto the top and boost away. Yeah, really, you can't do stuff like that if you don't understand how airplanes and physics works, which means that Miyazaki did his homework.
Yeah, and he
was able to change it enough to make it fantasy.
Yeah, and he took some liberties to make it fit into the fantasy world, but it fits, and you don't care. Like, that's the thing. One of the things people complain about with certain films is like, oh, well, that's just outlandish. It broke the movie for me. To me, if you can do some outlandish, ridiculous bullcrap and it fits into the world you're in, and I don't care, you've done your job. Like, if I'm not going, wait.
We call that a Clark Kent glasses moment. When people get upset on something so minute, yet
like I do every movie.
Yes, like when there's so many other fantastical things going on, we call that the Clark Kent glasses moment. Okay, you can believe that the man is faster than a speeding bullet, and he came here as an alien, and there's all these other crazy circumstances. But you can't believe that people can't tell the difference between Superman in the sky with no glasses and Clark Kent in front of their faces with glasses. And that ruins it for you. Okay.
And one of the high points for me, though, was not only the voice acting, because Sir Patrick Stewart is in this, along with the lovely, lovely Uma Thurman. It is the one combat scene in this, because if you think about what we've seen so far, this is the only Ghibli film where people die. Like, well, people died in Mononoke, but this is a character that we know and has impact on the story that dies. Those samurai in Mononoke really had no purpose. They were just kind of cannon fodder. But her father is murdered, and not just like dispatched. Like, he is savagely murdered by a gang of knights from another country that invade them
in his sick bed.
Yeah, he's bedridden. Like, and I love, by the way, Tech, this shows how fit she is. When she goes on her anger-fueled rampage, she murders like 4 dudes in a hurry, because she's using that staff she has, which is made out of the same type of stuff as the giant bugs. So she's breaking their necks with this thing. She's literally hitting them hard enough to break their necks through their armor. When they get that from her, she gets her father's sword and is about to waste these guys. Like, and I don't think she would have lost, like, because they were in close quarters, they couldn't draw their weapons, and they were already losing in hand-to-hand combat. Like, she was
fighting an enraged 14-year-old with abs of granite and a magical sword. Yeah. by the laws of Ghibli. The one thing I've learned from watching these movies is that we need to disband all world governments and militaries and let 14-year-old girls do everything, because according to Miyazaki, they can.
Sounds good to me. You just got to find the right girl. She's got to be the one with the strongest and purest of heart.
Right.
Yeah.
And the ability to talk to bugs.
Or Totoro's or whatever.
Yeah, and you notice, though, he kind of falls into a trope here. The father figure, and here's the deal. Yes, she's in a rage, but she's only in a rage against those who crossed her. Because when she hurts someone who is near and dear to her, she snaps out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she accidentally stabs Yupa.
Yeah. By the way, he's a bamf later on in this thing, isn't he?
He's a bamf throughout the entire thing. I mean, he's standing there with one sword drawing blood on one side, and then on the other side he's got a sword right under the armor of another guy waiting to push through.
And he's like, this is a ceramic no ohm shell knife. It'll cut through that armor like a hot knife through butter. Please don't make me use it.
So what were the high points for you, Nutty?
So one of the high points is the bushy mustaches and facial hair. I love the way that Miyazaki has those drawn. I mean, they are just...
Mohawk?
Huh?
Patrick Stewart's character has a mohawk and a Wilford Brimley mustache.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And
It's less of a mohawk and more like a full-blown high and tight.
yeah, it's pretty
fantastic.
amazing. It's really great. But there's something about that kind of facial hair. We saw it in Porco Rosso, among all the pirates and everything, and I absolutely love it. I find it highly endearing. Another high point, and I know I said this in my first reaction, is there was no love story. They could have easily tried to make the prince and Nausicaa fall for each other, and they didn't, and that was awesome. It wasn't about I love you and that's why I'm trying to help you.
They can
This
control
is the right thing.
They can control the ohms with the power of true love's kiss.
Oh,
I'm
God.
glad they didn't
By the
go
way,
there.
by the way, you know, in any movie I like, that'll never happen when that character's played by Shia LaDouche. All right. No.
I know, right? The great warriors or the gigantic warriors, when we see that animation, that is the best animation in the entire film, and it's done by somebody separately. It is terrifying.
That would have scared the pants off little Techie.
I don't know how that kid next to me wasn't crying. I couldn't understand anything he said because he was Italian, but oh my goodness. Yeah, there was a little Italian kid sitting next to me. And some obnoxious person kicking me in the head behind me at the theater. You see, these are the extra things that you get when you see it in the theater instead of in your house.
Dude,
but I don't know how he's not like horrified, because that is an absolutely frightening scene. I mean, that just shook me to the core.
You guys need to come to America, because when I saw Spirited Away originally, it was literally just me and my date. Awesome.
So yeah, it was so many little things like that. I really dug Nausicaa. I thought that she was a great character, and you could see that she was strong of heart more than anything. But yeah, she also had a core of steel. But she cares about everyone, and she really thinks about things in her own way. And it made me interested in checking out the manga, because there's more to her setting up a lab below the castle.
Absolutely.
You know that there's so much more to all of this. And she has a Pokemon, Jolteon, throughout the entire movie,
which they call a fox squirrel. But
yeah,
it's Jolteon.
It's Jolteon without the charge. It's awesome. But the fact that it opens up and you see her saving someone from an ohm by calming the ohm and helping it return to its forest. It's jungle. You don't want to come here. You want to go to your jungle, because she actually cares. She knows that if the ohms leave the jungle too much, they will die. So while yes, she's trying to save one of her people, she also really cares about this creature. And then when she gets the Jolteon, she's trying to charm it, and it bites her finger, and she just leaves her finger there waiting for it to understand that she means it no harm.
And
that was amazing.
And I like how this all sets up her sacrifice. Because throughout the movie, the only time she ever enacts violence against anyone is when she comes onto the savage murder of her father.
Yeah. And then she loses it, because how could I have lost control like that?
Yeah. And she realizes that when she hurts Lord Yupa.
Yeah.
And I think that's what brings her out of it more than the fact that she just hurt Lord Yupa, is that her anger was focused. It was driven exactly where it needed to be when she wanted it to be stopped. And that's how she ended up hurting Yupa. And from that point on in the movie, she never raises a hand again.
Yeah. And she to the point that, when she's standing on the airship and the prince is coming down with his Red Baron like plane, and she puts her arms out and she sends this message to him: no more killing.
Yeah,
she
stands in the way of his gunfire. She stands in the way of his gunfire. She literally puts herself in between his successful surprise attack. By the way, these giant well-armed ships are getting owned by Shia LaDouche, and it takes her basically. She kind of realizes that he's doing it because these people stole their princess, and by doing so, murdered her. They killed her because they wrecked their ship because they flew through the jungle and enraged the insects, and they crashed the ship, which kills the princess. And she knows that that's what he's there for. He's there for revenge on that. And so she stands in the way, and it does invoke that feeling of the princess, because the princess also seemed to be a very kind individual.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even illustrate her kindness by what she does. They actually illustrate the princess's kindness and how important she is and how well she's liked by how they let her die. I think this is it's probably the most powerful scene in the film, when she pulls her out of the flaming wreckage of the ship and opens up the blouse to try to do first aid, and she just reels back in horror. The princess just talks to her normal, like the princess already knows she's dying, like there's no help. And Nausicaa's crying because she knows there's nothing she can do to help her. Like, that scene alone tells you exactly what you need to know about both these characters and why Shia LaBeouf's character would go as far as he is going for the princess, as well as how far Nausicaa goes to save not only her people, but the people invading it and killing her people. Like
and we see it again when she's going after the baby Ohm, and she's the two guys that are carrying that baby Ohm. She does a very similar thing, and she just throws her arms out and she accepts their gunfire. And the guy's like, I can't.
Yeah.
And then the other guy shoots.
Can we
Which again, when you're looking at these Ohms, they are completely foreign. They are scary looking. You see how crazy they can be and how much they can hurt you. And then you see this baby Ohm with all of these spikes and screws through it, and it looks absolutely tortured and pained. And you can't help but go, how dare you, you monster.
Like, that's again some of the best animation in this film. Can we talk about how brutal that is? Because
it's horrible.
Every movement that the little baby Ohm is doing is causing it to gush torrents of blood, and it looks absolutely in pain. And even its eyes, normally when they're mad, their eyes are red, and when they're calm or just kind of complacent, they're blue. And its eyes are flashing between blue and red. It gives you a very good and concrete visual that this thing is tormented. It wants to be pissed. It wants to hurt things, but it is in such a bad way that it just can't. And it is gut-wrenching because you know this is basically the child.
Just one thing I want to say. Am I the only one that wants a stuffed Ohm?
I don't know if I want the stuffed Ohm or if I want one of their off-brand chocobos that Patrick Stewart was riding earlier.
That's another high point.
Yeah, the chocobos with the gas masks.
Yes, to protect them from the spores, man.
Any other high points before we move on to low points?
Okay, low points.
All right, low points.
I've got two.
Go.
One, the bipolar music.
Yep, that's one of mine.
I didn't mind either scores, but it really felt like two competing musicians.
I minded the video game score, but not to the point that it was so off-putting as, say, the Lady Hawk soundtrack.
Had they done the entire movie in that style, I would have been fine. Had they done the entire movie with like more of a classical score, like they did all the other ones, I would have been fine as well. The two of them together are jarring. And, like I said before, that soundtrack and that type of bug and that type of animation, it's called Chrono Trigger.
And you can definitely tell when there's a boss fight.
Exactly. And this entire movie feels like the work of Toriyama, the guy that did Chrono Trigger and Dragon Quest and Dragon Ball, and had an incredible career of his own. It really feels like that art style is his, but the music sort of disjointed, kind of threw me out a bit. The other low point, the big low point I need to mention again, is Miyazaki doesn't know how to end a movie. It's like his movies just stop. So let me give you an example of what, because there's no epilogue whatsoever except usually some silent scenes in the credits. Just imagine if Star Wars, the original Star Wars film from 1977, if Luke does it. Spoilers here, by the way. If Luke is doing his trench run, drops the bomb, and then the Death Star explodes, and then the credits scroll, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
What would that be like? You go, well, where's the rest of it? What happened? Like is Vader okay? I mean, what about, why? What happens? That's how I feel every Ghibli movie so far. They don't end. They just stop.
I think I've mentioned this before. Matter of fact, I know I mentioned before. It's just a gag. But remember how I said Miyazaki is trying to come into his style throughout these films?
Right, but this was before he even founded Studio Ghibli. This was a year before. So
exactly, he's still learning his craft, which is why you can tell, like with Kiki, the animation's better. Spirited Away, the animation will be better. Mononoke, the animation was better. I mean, I'm not saying this animation's bad, but those were better. And the endings to those films are better. Mind you, Kiki still kind of doesn't end. It ends, but it doesn't end, right? Like, and same thing with Mononoke. It ends, but it doesn't really end. And I still feel this is Miyazaki trying to find his place, because.
So where are we going to get to one that has a full, what I would consider to be an ending?
What's our next one?
Spirited Away.
There you go.
Another low point, a low point that I have to talk about, this has to be mentioned, is I mentioned that they got the voice acting right in North America right this time. That's because the first time they didn't do so well.
Yes.
They actually did a horrible job trying to figure out what North American audiences wanted. So they took over a half hour of footage out. This was in the 90s. They took over a half hour of footage out of the movie, and they respun it as an action adventure flick. So they took all of the exposition out. They took all of the nature stuff out. They left nothing but the war fighting scenes. And in all of the promotional material, trailers, teasers, and posters, they took all of the women out and framed it as like a war film.
Yeah. Nassica. Yeah. All about a 14-year-old girl.
But it was known as like the Warriors of the Valley or something like that was the translated title.
I have it right here. It was Warriors of the Wind.
Yeah, Warriors of the Wind. And Nausicaa does not appear in the promotional material.
Not even is it that they just cut out one 14-year-old girl. You cut out a 14-year-old girl fighting a hardened, experienced female knight general. Like, she's a commander of a military unit, and you cut her out as well. Like,
and the last low point, I know I said 2, but I've got 4. So the last low point, there is that hardened military general voiced by Uma Thurman has a line in. By the way, that first voice cast was so bad, Miyazaki actually says, just put it out of your mind and pretend it doesn't exist.
God, I bet that dub was done by Streamline. I bet it was done by Streamline. It had to have been done by Streamline. Only Streamline can make a dub that bad. I'll have to show you guys some Streamline dubs later. Ooh, man. But they're golden. They're great. Oh, no. Oh, no. Did they disappear? Am I alone on YouTube land?
Hi, Jason. Where'd you lose us?
When I was saying that only Stream, after he said something about the dub, I said that only Streamline could make a dub that bad. It had to probably be either Golden, it either was it was either Streamline or one other company. But I don't know if you guys heard that or if did you guys cut out on your end?
Yeah,
I just kept talking.
Yeah, we kept talking, but I realized the everything from YouTube just went, oh snap, something's wrong.
So to recap real quick, that dub is so bad that even Miyazaki says pretend it doesn't exist, put it out of your mind.
Yeah, and I said that it probably was a streamlined dub because back in the '80s, early '90s, Streamline was like they were this. I think they were like a Canada / Texas based dub group, and they made some bad dubs. I think one of the early Fist of the North Star dubs was done by them. Like, yeah.
So here's another thing I have to talk to you about specifically, because there's a scene later on in this movie when they're talking to the Uma Thurman female general character, and she takes off her left hand.
I love it.
To show that the damage and the toll that this war has taken, not huge, but even down to a personal level, she's disfigured by this, and everybody around her is aghast. They're like, "Oh my God, that's so horrible!" And she says the weirdest thing. It's such an off-putting line of just, "Yes, and the man who's lucky enough to marry me will see much more." I was like, is that a good thing?
I love this scene. I love this scene. I love that line because it not only fills in a lot of that backstory that I said, we didn't have on her, but
that teases me to read the comic because there's more there. That's the only time I felt like, wait, what?
And I love it because she literally, because basically this conversation is Naussica asking her why she's doing this, and she takes off the hand and they're like, "Oh my God," and she's just like, "Yeah, and the man who's lucky enough to marry me will see far worse," and that just lets me get this wonderful picture of the fact that this woman has sacrificed everything. She will sacrifice her body, her love life, you name it, in service to her country in victory. And some people would say that's, a lot of these, what are those? Oh God, they don't believe in sexism, the manism guys or whatever the hell they're called.
Men's rights activists.
Yeah. They would probably be like, well, that's just unrealistic. That no woman could be that dedicated. Blah, 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 blah. But absolutely is a wonderful, wonderful note for this character because
I was going to comment on the fact that your men's rights activist is the cause, but no,
that makes sense.
Keep going.
It is such a suiting thing because even Nausicaa at that point is like, oh my God, like even Nausicaa at that point realizes that yes, Nausicaa feels like she is in the right, but so does she. And I think that one of the best things I've ever heard and described was a villain. The best villains are the heroes of their own story. Mm-hmm. And she is obviously the hero of her own story. And it shows you that, yes, she knows she's doing terrible things and is going as far as she feels she needs to go. But she's doing it in the pursuit of, in her mind, something greater and far better. And you know what? Let's say she succeeded, right? She would probably be one of those people to die and be carried out on her shield. And as she was being carried out on her shield, she would relish in the fact that she sacrificed everything to achieve the victory needed to propel her kingdom and her king and government or queen into a better place. Like she's a wonderful villain, an absolutely wonderful villain.
Agreed. I'm not really sure low points other than I just feel like there's a lot more story that we weren't told, and I don't know really how to resolve that. Yeah. And comparing it to other Ghibli movies, it's not at the top. But I did really enjoy it. Before we move, did you have other lows, Jason?
No, my low point is with yours. I just think that there's a lot.
Said most of mine.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more backstory to this, but you just can't put it in here. Like you just can't. I mean, you're like I made the joke earlier that you're gonna be on Peter Jackson time, but it's serious. Like if you took, because I think this thing lasted 100 volumes. I think
it could be. I think maybe the best way you could resolve it is if it were a series instead of a movie. Now, and not many people have that budget.
Give me this story, but in a series of 12 30-minute episodes, and give me 3-4 seasons of it.
Yeah.
Question. Would we like a Netflix series based in the Nausicaa universe? Like this?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Done well, yes. Not a bunch of white people. Done well. I'm looking at you, Death Note.
I Have you guys watched that?
No, I'm not watching that.
Oh man, I want to. I want
no need.
I could probably hear his head explode from here. Like, oh god, like, oh, it's so bad.
So there's a couple of trivia points I do want to go over, and one that I can't believe I didn't notice. So Nausicaa is a character from Homer's The Odyssey, but Patrick Stewart voiced Lord Yupa. Is also Captain Jean-Luc Picard. In The Next Generation, Picard had to have an artificial heart that he needed installed after a run-in with a Nausican.
Yeah, Naussicans are big, scary aliens. That was one of the first things I thought about when I saw the poster. I'm like, yeah, Nassica. They don't mean Nausican because I don't think somebody's going to get stabbed in the heart for losing a game of Domjot.
Right. But Tapestry was written well after, and that's a nod to him being in this movie.
Is that why they named them Naussicans?
I think so. Well, they might have already been named Naussicans. Trekkies, don't get mad at me. I am a Trekkie, but I don't know all about Naussicans. I could see it being named after during Homer, so the Odyssey, but it was a Nausican because of this movie, which is awesome.
I mean, is there anything not associated with Sir Patrick Stewart or Sir Ian McKellen that isn't awesome?
Very little.
Go ahead.
Oh, did you have something?
I had another piece of trivia that I'm just reading off your screen there. That first Warriors of the Wind dub was so bad they didn't even give the voice cast any billing.
Right. Yeah. I got more on that.
That's horrible. How could you do that to your people?
Did it say what company did the dub?
Yes, it was New World Pictures.
Oh, yes, that's the other one. New World Pictures and Streamline. They are the worst dubs you will ever find. If you can find an anime with those dubs, sit down with some nice brews, some chips,
or just avoid them.
No. Oh my God, no. You can't avoid them because they are hilarious. You want to talk about stuff so bad? They're
New World Pictures. That was Fist of the North Star, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was bad.
Yes. Oh man.
Point proven.
Oh God.
So Hayao Miyazaki was still so upset by the truncated Warriors of the Wind version of Nausicaa that when Harvey Weinstein approached him to discuss the distribution of Princess Mononoke in 1997, so this is like more than 10 years later, and insisted on a similar heavy cut version of the film, Miyazaki angrily left the meeting. Several days later, Studio Ghibli producer Toshio Suzuki sent a katana sword to Weinstein's office. By the way, this was an authentic katana with no cuts embedded into the blade. The film was later released in the USA in its uncut version. During a later interview, Miyazaki commented on the incident by smiling and stating, "I defeated him."
As a note to people who don't understand Japanese culture, sending someone a sword is a sign that you want them to kill themselves.
Yeah.
I know this.
Here is a blade. Kill yourself.
This is a clean podcast, so I won't say it outright, but this is a big F and a U from
absolutely.
From Studio Ghibli.
This is like a Klingon clasping their fists over their chest and turning away from you. Yeah. So after the heavily rewritten and edited 1985 release of this film in the United States, blah, blah, blah.
By the way, was that Harvey Weinstein?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk about
Miyazaki was hesitant to release any of his films outside of Japan. Miyazaki demanded that any new licensor for his films be contractually bound to do no edits whatsoever aside from straight translation and dub. Disney, who bought the rights to all of Miyazaki's films except The Castle of Cagliostro, has honored this stipulation.
By the way, Castle of Cagliostro has another nest of dead animators. There's a clock tower with moving gears throughout it. Yeah, they got murdered.
So this was adapted from the first two volumes of the original manga, which Miyazaki wrote and drew himself. from February 82 to March 94. He took breaks from working on the manga and worked on the earlier anime films he did. This manga is longer and more complex than the movie, featuring more characters and places. Well, yeah.
How much of it have you read, Jay?
I have read probably the first third. So probably the first, if you go by chapters, like the individual, like the little volumes, probably maybe 12.
Okay.
Cool. If you're talking about like bound, like the big omnibus volumes, maybe 2 or 3.
Oh, that's good. So because this is an original story with no promotional tie-in, that's why Miyazaki wrote the comics. So that's kind of interesting. It's like, well, they'll give me money if I do a tie-in, so I'll make something to tie it in.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
I'll put it to you this way: the only equivalent to this movie in the manga would be the Akira manga and the Akira film. That's literally, if you've ever read the Akira manga, or better yet, for you guys, because I know you guys love this, the Ghost in the Shell manga versus the Ghost in the Shell original film. Literally the
on my show.
Yeah. So we went over a lot of the technology, and Tech knew it all before ever looking at the trivia. But one thing is that where was it? The yellow on the underside of the how do I say it? Tamikians? Is that there?
Yep.
Yeah. Is meant to be similar to the Germans.
Yep. Everybody in World War II without radar or identification friend or foe systems, when planes go zipping by overhead at a couple hundred miles an hour, it's kind of hard to tell which one is which. So the Germans would paint the parts of the underside of their planes yellow. And Allied planes did what they called invasion stripes. So it was 4 white and black stripes on the wings, so that an observer on the ground looking up could very quickly tell which plane was on which side. And they use that in this because they're students of that stuff, and I kind of like it.
God,
the climactic God Soldier scene that scares me so much.
Yes.
Was animated by, can you pronounce that?
Hideaki Anno.
Hideaki Anno, who would soon go on to make a name for himself at the Gainax.
So the guys that did
this, sorry, I'm having
in 85, then went on to Gainax and did every great thing Gainax has ever come up with. And at about the same time, I think like a year or two later, was Wings of Oniamis, which you want to talk about dead animators.
Whoa. We will have to have an off podcast talk about the Wings of Oniamis, because that is one of the. It is great and horrible all at once.
It's a bad, boring movie, but good gosh, is it pretty?
Yeah, and if by the way,
that theme.
Yeah,
Hideki Anno is. You also would know him for something that brought anime into the mainstream in the 90s. Evangelion, because Gainax is behind Evangelion.
Right. Oh, he did Evangelion.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of a really pretty animation that kills animators.
There you go.
Kills animators and makes all the emo teenagers love life.
So, and then lastly, I guess Miyazaki's director trademark is flying. In any movie that he does, there is flying. And so, of course, Nausicaa flies on her Maeve throughout the movie, and she gives lessons during the credits. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, the Princess Nausicaa School of Hang Gliding was a really cool little scene in the end credits.
Yeah,
it actually should be just her making them do flutter kicks, screaming, "You gotta get a core! You need to get a good core!"
3 million leg lifts, go!
So that brings us to ratings.
Okay. So like I mentioned before, I really liked this. I thought it was a fun movie, and it had a great story. It was acted very, very well. It touched on some very serious, very overarching points about how we take care of the environment and how we have to look outside of our petty squabbles and look at overarching things in humanity to work together towards these common goals, because they're more important than whatever we're squabbling about. But okay, as social commentary, it's great. As a movie, It had that bipolar soundtrack. It had animation that, you know, they were still sort of getting into their stride. So this is an early film, so it didn't have that animation quality that I'm looking for piles of dead animators. I didn't get it. And yet again, it just stopped. It didn't end, it stopped. And I'm still being burned by that. So I'm gonna give this a 6. A 6 out of 10. A 6 out of 10 dead animators.
But they're not dead.
To me, this was this movie could have been 10 out of 10.
Maybe
so this is a solid movie for you.
It's a solid movie. It was good. It was good. There's a lot of things that needed work, but it was a great movie with a great story, and everything else was just okay.
So would it be slightly tattered, maybe a slightly used animator, like a pre-owned animator?
He's got carpal tunnel in both wrists. He'll never do anything more than like stick figures again. But he's alive.
Jason, what do you say?
Well, Jen beforehand told me, she was like, I remember the movie, but I don't remember the movie. She's like, I know it was good, but she's like, things like Kiki and Spirited Away and From Up on Poppy Hill, which is a movie that made her bawl her eyes out, by the way, stand out more to her. So she said she wanted to give this one 7 fox squirrels out of 10. Because she did enjoy it, but it's not one of his best, and it didn't stand out to her against them. Because if you compare this to things like Kiki, and you guys haven't seen it yet, but Spirited Away, it pales a bit. I don't say it pales with like Naussica as a character, but just in the overall sense, those things are Miyazaki at his best when he's doing that.
Okay, so she thinks it is exceptional.
Yeah, and really quick, you were talking about Miyazaki's trademarks, one of which flying. Also, female protagonists.
Yes.
And
strong female characters.
Strong female characters and flying. And you will see flying. I don't think there's one he personally has done that does not have flying. My rating, I give Nausicaa, I want to say a 7.5, but it's going to be 7.5 gunships out of 10 because I do like it, and I do like it a lot actually. But it's long, and after reading the manga, I realized that they had to make these cuts and truncate the movie. And I feel like if you've read the manga, you can watch the movie and you'll get it, like all of it, right? Like you'll get the whole picture, but that's because you've got tied in material. And
just so you know, you've rated this higher than Princess Mononoke.
Yes. Okay. I like to be fair. I like Nausicaa more than I do San.
All right. Yeah, I do too.
And also there's a love story in Mononoke. There is not in Nausicaa. So again,
not that a love story is a bad thing. A love story done well is fine. I mean, you could consider Porco Rosso is a love story.
Oh yeah.
But that's a love story that is stretched out over decades and it of longing more than.
But it's not shoehorned into another movie, and when that happens is when I lose the plot, and I get really annoyed by that.
And I know this is an anime, but I just recently watched the Wonder Woman movie, and I had a big problem with Chris Pine's character. I didn't understand why she needed a man to be the spark for her curiosity to go out to the real world. It bothered me.
He was a plot device. It was
exactly.
She needed somebody to show up and tell her what was going on, and he needed to be there to say the things that the audience are thinking.
Yeah, and to write and spoiler alert, to write the love letter at the end for her to whatever.
Anyway,
that bothers me when it bothers me when they do it with women. So it's going to bother me when they do it with Chris Pine, and that's kind of what the love story in Mononoke was. it was a plot device, or at least it was used as a plot device to kind of give purpose to Ashitaka, when he didn't have any other motivation. Because there were several times in that movie where if he didn't have that love story, he would have just kind of been there, and that bothers me. I don't like it.
No,
because
my rate.
Yeah. So yeah,
I'm cutting you off here. I was just thinking, I think the worst podcast would be if I had to control both Jason and T. Yeah. So while you think about that, I'm having a hard time figuring out where I want to rate this. I think I'm going to give it a 6.5. Oh shoot, Jen took my rating system. 6.5 fantastic voiceovers by Tress MacNeille.
What about
you could Tress MacNeille is the witch. I love her so much.
By the way, I love how she gives no F's. She tells those people right out, they murdered our king. He was in his bed dying and they killed him. Screw you, invaders. I love her so much.
Her voice that she puts on for this character is a character that she uses again in Futurama. Because whenever they go to Kif's home planet and they meet
the swamp hag,
the grand midwife, or I am the grand funeral director, or the grand museum curator. How many jobs do you have? I have 9 jobs. They're all grand. It is that exact same voice that she is putting on. It's the old hag that she does. And I love Tress to death.
Which is also the swamp hag, right?
Right. It's also, get out of my swamp, you kids. She is my favorite voice actor, and she did brilliant in this. I love it so much.
Yes. All right. So that's what we thought. And you can tell us what you think by listening to the contact information at the end of the episode. Shane did not tell us what he thought, so I'm thinking he hasn't seen Nassica, but he has been hanging out. Hi, Shane.
Hi, Shane.
And you can thank with me people like Jason, Aaron
Daddy.
Jackson, Beth, Aurora Lee, Susan, Melissa, Susanna, Kinsey, Ian, Harold, Jen, Patrick, Shane. Hi, Shane. Rich the TT, Dagny, Mike, Ken, Lynette, and sometimes Nick for bringing you 2 episodes a month, because they donate on Patreon, and without them we would still be a 1 episode a month
They
podcast.
won't let us stop.
If you donate more, who knows, there may be more or other fun things. So thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And Shane says happy birthday, Tech.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
So that's a wrap. That was a good recording.
Tech, can we bump up something in the schedule? Because I don't think I can wait till we get to it. I just don't, because it was the last movie he did outside. It was the second to last movie they did. Can we please bump up The Wind Rises? I need to have Tech lose his shoot.
No, but simply because right now, as it is, the next movies being shown in theaters. Hang on. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, because we got one coming up next month at our local theater, so we're going to see
is
it live.
Spirited Away, which is what we wanted to see next anyway. And then after that, at the end of November, is Howl's Moving Castle, which is also
looks like a giant steampunk wet dream. So I can't wait to see that one.
Oh gosh darn! Like I want to talk about Wind Rises Attack so badly. Like it is.
Oh, so we're sitting in the theater waiting for this thing to start, which we thought we better get there early. This is going to be a Ghibli movie. There's going to be a lot of people there, and we got to make sure we get tickets. Yet no, when we went in, there was like 2 other people in there, but it ended up filling. It was like what, half full theater. It was pretty good.
It felt quite nice, but for some reason, and maybe someone can explain this to me. For some reason, if you are a young woman who goes to see a Ghibli movie,
you got to be dressed to the nines.
You got to dress, man. You got to way over. Like, I'm talking like prom level dresses. With
junior prom level.
Yeah. Really, really like knockout dresses with the hair and the makeup and the shoes and the like. Okay,
and then the guy has a tank top and shorts.
Right.
On.
So it's not like dressing up for a date. I mean, this is beyond date dressing.
They were all very lovely. I will say that.
Sure, yeah, they were very
lovely.
pretty dresses, but I mean,
I felt underdressed.
Maybe
felt
they
like a
wanted to
schlub.
meet their next husbandu, right? You know, every guy has their waifu, right? Well, maybe they wanted to meet their next husbandu. You know,
So
they were all there because they're huge fans of Lord Yupa.
yeah.
it's Patrick Stewart.
So the other thing is we heard people next to us talking, and they were talking about the different Ghibli movies that they had seen. And they said, someone said, Grave of the Fireflies, that's Miyazaki, right? Oh, yeah.
no.
I saw that. Well, it's not a movie that I'd want to rewatch, but it's definitely a movie that everyone should see.
It's an important movie that everybody needs to see that I will never see again because I can't cry that much again in my life.
And then Fred's just sitting there going, nope. And I said, not till Jason's here to hold me.
I got to put on that affectation. Well, actually, it's not a Miyazaki movie. It's actually an Isao Takahata film. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a Miyazaki film. It's a Isao Takahata film. And it's Isao Takahata because Isao Takahata makes movies. Like, you know how you talk about how Miyazaki has the upbeat endings in his films? Isao Takahata's movies, outside of my neighbors, the Yamadas, will make you want to go hang yourself.
Oh, goody.
Like, so
maybe we shouldn't watch those in a row. Maybe we should break those up.
I'll put it to you this way. You're in for it. Because my neighbors, the Yamadas, love that movie. It's funny. It is a slice of life that he got turned into a slice of life film that I love to death. So, but before my neighbors, the Yamadas, you got Pompoko.
Yes.
So you got Pompoko, my neighbors, the Yamadas. Then I'm sorry, Pompoko, Grave of the Fireflies, my neighbors, the Yamadas, and then you got the Tale of Princess Kaguya. So
only yesterday.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. That is the only Isao Takahata film I have never seen.
All right.
So we'll all be watching that for the first time.
So my question is, should we change the schedule to mix in the Takahatas with the Miyazakis if they're also like
if you don't want to act like you've been listening to Blink-182's Adam song on repeat for the last 10 years, yes.
All right, I'm gonna have to change this. All right, hang on.
Legit. The Tale of Princess Kaguya is not bad. It's nowhere near on the level of Pompoko or Grave of the Fireflies, but you have to split up Grave of the Fireflies and Pompoko. You can't put those back to back.
They're not, because in the order that I had, it's only yesterday Pompoko, My Neighbors the Yamadas, Tale of Princess Kaguya, and then Grave of the Fireflies.
No,
Grave of the Fireflies is out of order because it's so sad.
You can't. Like, you have to split those up. Like, the ending of Tale of Princess Kaguya cannot feed into Grave of the Fireflies. Grave of the Fireflies has to stand on it. You need to put the happiest thing you can think of.
I'm gonna.
Have we done the Cat Returns yet?
No.
Put the Cat Returns in front of that. I'm not joking.
Then we're gonna do a Pixar movie marathon.
Like, it is. Like, I'm not.
We're all gonna go to Wonderland for a while, and then we might try to watch Grave of the Fireflies.
Like, real talk. Like, I've only seen Grave of the Fireflies twice.
They compared it to the people next to us compared it to Schindler's List.
Yeah, which I still haven't seen.
I think Schindler's List is not as bad because one, Schindler's List is a live action film, so only certain things can be shown in those if they want it to be Oscar bait, and that's what the Schindler's List is. Schindler's List is an Oscar-winning film, so certain things are cut out of it. Grave of the Fireflies is gut-wrenching. Your main point of view is a brother and sister under the age of 13 in post-World War II Japan.
After the firebombing of Tokyo.
After the firebombing of Tokyo, spoiler alert, they're starving to death.
Yeah.
I knew that.
And I don't have you guys seen a trailer for it or anything?
No.
I've seen some promotional art for it. And enough to know
1988. Wow.
Yeah, enough to know that this is not something that I want to use my casual time for.
I'm gonna just give you a bit of a spoiler alert because the movie opens with the lines of "This is the day I died." Like,
Yeah.
Grave of the Fireflies is a brute. It is gut-wrenching. And the worst part about it is it's absolutely beautiful. It is animated wonderfully. The story is superb. But it's one of those things that is so good and so well done and has such a pointed message that you're like, Jesus Christ, I will never watch this again. Like, it is. And if you notice, when people talk about Grave of the Fireflies, that's the thing they say. They say everyone who loves anime or likes good films in general should see it, but only once. And I, being the terrible human being I am going to be seeing it for the third time.
Have you seen, it was a live action Spielberg called Empire of the Sun?
Yes.
That was good.
Dude, man, I just.
And I will tell you. Or sorry, Nutty?
Nope.
Empire of the Sun? It's a young British a British kid, a teenager that grew up in Japan, and at the start of the war, they put all the Brits into internment camps. And through the fence of the internment camp, he's continuing a relationship he had with one of his friends from school, and it's one of the boys that he always see. And as he spends the war in the internment camp, the movie ends with him watching his friend from high school go into a kamikaze plane.
Okay.
Yeah. It was hard to watch. It wasn't gory. It wasn't violent. It was, it pulls on those heartstrings. It's a hard movie to watch.
I'll put it this way.
Nowhere near as Grave of the Fireflies level, but it was.
That's the thing. Grave of the Fireflies is it. I don't think, to me, Grave of the Fireflies isn't gory. I think there's a little bit in the depiction of people who die, but it's that type of drama. It's that weighted, that pointed type of drama that makes Grave of the Fireflies so good. And then when you animate it so well, I mean, it's.
Just imagine being the guy that had to draw that. Hey, I want you to draw starving kids for the next 3 months.
Dude, it's and here's the deal. We make people in anime like make the joke that they keep Asao Takahata on a leash, a 6-year leash. They only let him out every 6 or 7 years to make a movie. And this is why. I mean, Pom Poko is gut-wrenching. Like, you think Miyazaki has pointed social commentary about environmentalism? Wait till you see Pom Poko. Wait till you see the struggle of anthropomorphic talking raccoons versus industrialism. Yeah.
So Fern Gully.
Yeah, but I don't think Fern Gully shows graphic detail of animals getting hit by cars.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what you're in for with Pom Poko.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but here's the deal.
Wait, Jason, I need your input.
Mm-hmm.
I need your help. All right, Ponyo. Happy or sad?
Wonderful. Love it. Liam Neeson.
Okay, so we're gonna give this a happy.
Liam Neeson as an overprotective dad. I'm loving it.
All right.
We're color coding the cells in the Excel sheet.
Secret World of what's the rest of that? Sorry. Of Ari.
Yeah. That has a downer ending, but I feel it suits the movie. It's not one that'll make you kill yourself, so you're good to go. You can put that wherever.
Okay, so we're gonna put that as I'll put that as a blue because it's whatever. From Up on Poppy Hill.
That actually is a good ending. It's a very up ending. So yes, that's good.
I just want to feel for the movie, right?
Yep.
The Wind Rises. Tech's gonna splooge. We know that.
He's gonna splooge, and then he'll probably cry while splooging at the end.
Isn't it like the people next to us were talking about The Wind Rises, and they said that, man, if you thought you cried during Grave of the Fireflies, wait till you watch The Wind Rises. It's a great movie, but wow, you're gonna cry.
Okay.
Laputa, Castle in the Sky, love it. Great, you can watch it anywhere.
Okay, so that's a good one. All right. Only Yesterday you haven't seen.
Not yet. I'll try.
Pom Poko is super sad, right?
Yep. Made Jen ball her eyes out.
My Neighbor the Yamadas, that's a happy.
Great, absolutely, it's wonderful.
Princess Kaguya, super sad.
Made Jen ball her eyes out.
And we know Grave of the Fireflies is like
you don't have a dark enough red for Grave of the Fireflies.
When Marnie Was There.
when Marnie was there, I love that movie. I like that movie a lot. That has
So positive.
it is a positive ending, but there's things in the ending.
I just need binaries here, man. I'm color coding.
Yes.
I don't have enough room for gray. I've got
would say-
green, red, and blue for
Blue. Put
Cat Returns.
when Marnie was there as blue. Cat Returns, that is definitely a good one. You can put it wherever.
That's a green. Earthsea.
Earthsea, you can put it anywhere.
So that's another green. Okay. So now let's figure this out. So
I would suggest splicing greens in between anything that is
Yeah.
this out.
Yeah. So I'm seeing how that's gonna work. So
And
Grave of the Fireflies is gonna be when you and I can do this because Tech's not interested. So that's gonna
oh, come on, Tech.
have to
No, I can't.
that's gonna have to be when we visit.
Can you at least watch it? Like I would like and this is not me wanting to see you torn to pieces. This is me saying that as a person who loves cinema, there are certain films that I feel like people just have to see. And because of how it's animated, because it's how it's directed, because it's how it's written, I feel like people should watch this, no matter how.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how people.
Tech just walked away. He said, "Hold on."
Okay. But I will tell you this, Nutty. The Wind Rises. My favorite love story that Miyazaki's ever written.
Cool. Well, I don't need info yet. I'm just trying to figure out order. I don't want to know.
I'm gonna try to order. I'm gonna try to order the Red Turtle, and I'm gonna try to order Only Yesterday. When I here in the next couple of weeks, that way I can get those watched ahead of time.
There's Jason.
Yep.
See that?
What's up?
See this?
Yeah.
I don't need to watch the movie.
What was that? I saw Maple Leaf.
Yeah, that's his medals, his mini medals.
Oh, dude, yeah. I'll put man, like
Sorry, Tech, Shane says, I've been suffering from a throat infection with a high fever and had one of those crazy fever dreams about me being a Russian sleeper agent. Tech was on it. So wait, is Tech a sleeper agent with you or is he against you?
Or is he the one you seduced and turned to your side?
Or are we? No, we're a team. We're like Ilya and with Napoleon from the Man from U.N.C.L.E. He's the Russian sleeper agent. I'm the Canadian sleeper agent, and the two of us are gonna go. I don't know, stop international drug smugglers or something. Yay!
That sounds good.
It should be great.
But no, Tech, I cannot wait. I cannot wait until you see Wind Rises.
All right, it looks like Only Yesterday is not sad. I could be wrong.
Did they
Castle Cagliostro, that one.
Cagliostro?
Yeah.
Oh, the Castle Cagliostro. I think Tech, you'll like that too because that's your Frenchman, your fellow Frenchman, Lupin the Third.
He hates the French.
What?
I don't hate anything.
Whatever, bro.
No. Yeah. So I hear.
We're gonna go.
Have you read?
Did they take
Lupin?
No.
Like the literature about him.
Who?
Lupin, the character Lupin the Third, which is actually the anime character Lupin the Third, is based off of the French thief character Lupin, and that's what they based the anime series off of, and that movie and everything like that.
Never heard of it.
Oh, dude, it's basically you ever want to see an anime heist film, then watch anything that has Lupin the Third in it, because he's got a gangster as a partner. An ex-samurai as a partner, and he has a love interest that screws him over all the time named Fujiko Mine.
Okay, I know this art style. I know I've seen the character before. I've never watched Lupin.
Lupin's really fun. When Lupin is done right, he's really fun. Although they break him up into several different versions of Lupin. There's Green Jacket Lupin, Pink Jacket Lupin, I think Blue and Yellow Jacket Lupin, but I think some of those are limited to movies and special like broadcast they do, but But yeah, Lupin's great. I like Lupin a lot. And Castle Cagliostro is one of the best Lupin films ever made. Hi, Sleepyhead. You want to say hi?
Hi, bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, Jen.
Yeah, Jen, because Jen accomplished her goal. She graduated from CNA school. Yay!
Yay!
Nice.
Congrats.
But now she's got to go do CNA duties, which is they were supposed to put her on day.
Oh, she's got her clinical.
No, what it is she's got, because they do the clinical during the school, so like they'll have like certain days where they did, and other days where they actually worked at the hospital, and so now she's actually going to do like on the job training at the hospital they will have her working at, which is like a older people's home. It's not a nursing home. It's like a kind of an older people residence that isn't the, like, you know, they don't have to, the people don't have to have like 24-hour care. They just kind of have to have like people around just in case if something goes wrong or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's actually going to be doing her training at the place they want her to work, because basically what it is they sponsor the program that teaches them and trains them how to be CNAs, and then they work for them for a year, and then they can either transfer to another place or to become a registered nurse and go on up and stuff like that.
I don't think we need to be broadcasting this.
No, I just realized we're getting a little personal there. So Shane, talk to you later. Bye. Yes.
I was gonna say that it sounds personal, but that is like a program that a lot of places do around the internet.
Oh yeah.
Or
We're
not
starting to get too familiar,
Yep.
and it's very easy for us to start chatting.
Yeah, see, I'm no longer in the military, so I can chat about almost anything.
Bye, Shane. Feel better. Throat coat for that throat of yours. Throat coat tea.
I got a throat coat for you, Shane.